We'll open up for questions.
Everyone, beautiful day in Columbia, Missouri, that's for sure. I thought we had a very, very successful weekend down at Florida State. I'm very happy with overall how we played. I thought we pitched very well. Our bats really came alive in our last two games, and defensively we were pretty solid. So overall, I thought it was a very successful weekend for us. Losing a game doesn't really hurt just because it was the same opponent. So I'm happy that we were able to get in the 4 games that we did, and I'm real excited, looking forward to what we have planned coming up this coming week.
All right, we can open up to questions. Just raise your hand if you have questions. So we'll start with Colin and Ben.
Hey, Coach Anderson, pretty quick turnaround with finding a new tournament this weekend. Just how does that process work? Is that on Kate Malvo, or are you and Chris texting all the coaches looking for a spot? Just how does that come about?
Yeah, it's tough. Yesterday was a long day for us. Really, it started with having conversations with Baylor. I talked to their head coach, Glenn Moore, quite a bit yesterday. He was informed with us first thing yesterday morning. We had a long trip back. I'm not sure how well you guys are aware of to what our process was on the way home. Our travel party right now is 42. So flying down to Florida State, we had to split our travel party into 2 separate groups. One of the flight home made it back safely on Sunday. The other flight got canceled because we had a connection in Dallas. So 25 of us, myself included, with a couple other coaches, and Paul was on that bus. We bused back from Tallahassee back to Columbia, and it ended up being 24 hours with the snowstorm. It was brutal. Our bus broke down. It was a long day. So we did not get in until 3:30 Monday morning, actually Tuesday morning, because we traveled all day Monday. So all day yesterday after I spoke with Baylor, and they sent pictures of their field. And it was kind of funny where he said, we've never had snow like this, so I don't even know how long it takes to melt. Do you think we're going to play? So it was like, okay, how many days are you going to have above 32? Because that's the only way it's going to melt. So he called it. So we immediately, all of us, Kate Malvo, myself, Michaela Transu, Chris Malvo, we were all contacting people we knew, doing research on who was hosting, really looked at the weather across the country, because we were not going to get on a plane and spend all the money to go somewhere and it was going to be 40 degrees. So we were really limited on opportunities. I'm real good friends with the coaching staff at Florida Atlantic, and I'm so fortunate that they were able to help us out and accommodate our schedule. So that was pretty much all day yesterday, and we were in the office about 9 o'clock last night trying to work out all the details.
Larissa, how important was it to you to make sure that once the Baylor event was off the calendar, that you got your team on the field this weekend, continue momentum, continuity of the season, all that stuff?
It was huge. I mean, we don't want to be stuck inside. We know we can't be outside. We've been together practicing since January 7th, and our game is designed where you have to play. You have to play games to get better. We can't orchestrate anything even close to it in practice. So it's about seeing other pitchers, making those game time adjustments, and getting our being outside and playing on dirt. So it was huge. And I'm fortunate that we have the support of our administration that, supported us to be able to do this financially. And then also in terms of the quick turnaround and all the adjustments that we had to make. So, I mean, having everyone being on the same page and putting our players in the best possible situation to be successful and making sure that we're taking care of them academically. It was real important that we do everything we possibly can to be able to play games, but also be in a safe environment and being able to do so.
Okay, we'll go Anthony, then Colin.
Hey, Coach. I was just wondering how just this quick turnaround is going to affect your scouting and preparation for the games this weekend. Obviously, these weren't games that were originally scheduled. So how does that kind of impact how you're preparing for the weekend?
It's just a lot of time that will be spent. We'll have another 2 late days in the office now. I mean, watching game film and being able to get as much information as we possibly can. So it's just the time putting in. We did have a little heads up because we did have information on Northwestern State. So because we were planning on playing them in Baylor. So we do have some information on them planning for the South Alabama trip. But it's just a matter of collecting as much information as we can, spending the time watching game film. We do have that extra day since we're not flying out tomorrow, we're flying out Friday. So it does give us a little more time to be able to prepare. But again, I have a great staff working underneath me. So everyone has their own duties and responsibilities right now and making sure that we prepare the team the best we can.
Hey, Coach, I was wondering if you had any update on Jazz and how you thought Jenna and Alex played this weekend, not just with hitting, but, getting on base and getting themselves into scoring positions with walks and stuff like that.
Jazz is looking good. She's really, really close. Strength looks good. It's an injury to her hand. So it's just, obviously she needs her hand to be able to swing a bat, and that is her strength. So I'm not going to put her in a situation that she's not going to be successful, and making sure that she is prepared. And the conversations that I'm having with Jazz are, one weekend, opening weekend does not make your whole season. And I don't want her to start off on a bad foot that is going to really set her up for the rest of the season. So it's making sure she is 100% healthy mentally and physically. And it's just to the point of getting her those live reps, so she can see live pitching. Because again, nothing simulates hitting other than seeing that live pitching. And I thought Jenna and Alex just did a phenomenal job. Jenna playing shortstop every single game, and you saw what she did offensively, and her on-base percentage was just pretty ridiculous. But the composure that those two freshmen have, playing their first time, playing at this level, some of the pressure situations they were in, they were so composed to the point where it was almost like they were experienced players. So I'm real happy about what I saw from them. And I just know that the more experience they get, the better they're going to be.
Okay, we'll go to Ben.
Coach, what do you want to see from your pitching staff so that you feel like the right progression is happening from week 1 to week 2?
It's continue. I think we need to cut down the walks. Walks, and it's not how many, it's when. What I did like that I saw is that we would give up some big hits or some walks in some situations, but we responded fast. Last year, it would almost steamroll just because they didn't have the experience, and they would let one walk or one hit really impact them. They immediately responded. I thought Jordan Weber did an unbelievable job in terms of that, especially for our first win. What I'd like to see them a little bit more is making some bigger pitches in some big key situations. I think that's what's going to continue to get them to be better in really bearing down when we need maybe that big strikeout or a big pop-up to really compete and go after them, rather than being just a little tentative and a little safe, almost where they're just laying on the line and just really going after it and making a big pitch, which will help our team.
I can follow up real quick on that. Did you feel like the back end of the second Florida State game was a good example of what you want to see? It gets sideways for an inning, but boom, you're able to lock it down in the later frames.
Watching Lauren Krings and it was about 2.5 innings. She dominated for 2 innings. And that was so great to see. And then Florida State had one big hit, and it rattled a little bit, and that's expected. It was her first start. It's in a big venue. There's a lot at stake. And so it's just getting her that experience. And I'm leaving her in to almost grow up fast, because we are going to rely on her. After I pulled her in that game, she went to the bullpen to throw more, because it wasn't fatigue. It was just experience. And she threw more, and she responded wonderfully. So I knew I could go back to her in that game if I needed to.
Coach, just what are your thoughts on playing an SEC opponent so early in the season, and just maybe what that can do for the team's confidence heading into the rest of the season? I know they were who you opened up against last year too.
Yeah, and I'm glad. It was conversations where I don't know if Ole Miss would want to play us. So I had no problem, and I actually wanted to do it because I wanted our freshmen and our first-year players to. There's different hype. There's different excitement when you're playing an SEC opponent. So getting that almost out of the way the second week in the season is going to be great, because I know last year when our freshman pitchers played that first series against Ole Miss at home, it was a different level of pressure because you want to win those SEC games. It's a big game. It's a super regional matchup. So getting that out of the way that second week of the season is going to be great experience for them. Great energy. I know it's going to be so competitive. So I'm really excited that we're going to have that game this weekend.
Eric, you can go ahead.
Coach, I was just curious, obviously starting on the road, now you got a change in the schedule. Can that be a good thing in the long run for this team to kind of get used to, hey, something changes here, now we adapt and we're on the road and bond?
So this program has faced so much adversity in the last 4 years that, I mean, we just roll with it. We know whatever we got to do today, we're going to do. SEC tournaments on the road, regionals hopefully are at home, but we have to be prepared to be successful on the road. So really it's having that mentality and that routine and that discipline. And I love being on the road. First of all, I love being in Florida because it's going to be pretty warm out and we're going to be outside. But when you're on the road, you have less distractions, so you can have much better control and command of your team. I know that they're excited, and it's almost like the pandemic has set us up with remote classes that we're able to do this and we're able to be on the road as long as we are. If it was something where last year we probably wouldn't be able to do this because of academics.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Coach, I'll go one more real quick. Just curious, the strikeouts were probably the biggest issue for the offense last season in that shortened season. I was just curious what your stance was on, how many you're okay with in a game, whether that's just situational or hitter based, or just what the offense's approach is to taking big cuts and maybe not being tentative about striking out.
And we're not. Like, we're okay. I'm okay with them swinging missing, but what I look at is why. Why do they swing and miss? If they're swinging and missing because they're chasing at balls out of the zone, it's not the swing and miss, it's their pitch selection. If they're swinging at balls that are in the zone and they're swinging and missing, then I'm looking at what is the pitcher doing, and why are we swinging and missing? I never ever want a hitter to be tentative. And you can see the way Hattie Moore swings, like she's not afraid to swing the bat, and she's going to connect more often than she's not. And the first inning, and I'll tell you guys this, the first inning that we played against Florida State, and we came out and we just hacked. And actually it was the first inning against Memphis. And those first three batters, and we weren't successful, but they just swung. And it was so intimidating because you could see the effort that they put into their swings and how the pitchers reacted. It was almost of oh, I better not miss because they're going to connect if the ball is in the zone. And that's the mentality we want to have, that we're going to give 100% effort all the time. And if that ball is in the right spot at the right time, we know we're going to connect and we're going to hit it pretty hard.
Okay, Anthony?
You kind of talked a little bit about this, but I was wondering if you could talk a bit about just kind of the impact of players like Brooke Wilmus and Hattie Moore, and just what their experience kind of brings to the table after having big weekends this past weekend.
Their energy, their confidence really, really sets the tone for the whole team. And when you have Brooke leading off, who is such an unbelievably confident player, and even if she gets out, she immediately will go to the next batter in line and go to everybody else who's in the dugout and give them information about that pitcher, what they're looking for, how the ball spun, what is a good pitch to hit, what is something that you need to take, which is now going to prepare everybody else. And when you have a leader like that, and then you have Kayla Kessinger and you have Hattie Moore sharing that information throughout the lineup, it is almost putting them in a situation where they've already had at-bats. And when you hear your leaders say, hey, it's right there, you're going to jump all over it, it boosts the confidence for everybody else. It's like if you went back to the dugout and go, oh, she's pretty nasty, she's throwing really hard, you have no chance, then they're going to have a different demeanor stepping into that batter's box. But Brooke Wilmus and that top of that lineup really sets the tone, the energy, the experience. And again, like you see when Brooke gets on, the entire energy in the dugout is so excited because you know all the way through the lineup that they're going to be able to match that.
Any more questions? All right. Thanks, guys. This is it for week one.
Safe travels.
Thank you.